It all started with a silly numbness in my left arm, that annoying thing that we tend to ignore, Oh, it must be bad posture, I would think, as I typed on the computer for hours on end. I would stretch a bit, shake my arm, and the sensation would go away. Or at least I pretended it did. At first, it was only occasionally, like after a long day of work, but over time, it started to happen more often. Sometimes I even felt a strange tingling in my fingers, as if I had been pricked with a bunch of needles. Stubborn as I am, I kept on living as if nothing had happened. I would schedule dinners with friends, go to work, attend my yoga classes. I tried not to think about it too much, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. My body was screaming for help, and there I was, covering my ears. Until one day, in the middle of a meeting, my mouth started to go numb too. Words just wouldn't come out. Everything froze. I looked at my coworker, desperation written all over my face. It was in that exact moment that it hit me. I needed help, and fast. They rushed me to the hospital. I remember flashes, the ambulance, the flashing lights, the sound of the siren echoing in my head. I got there. They put me on a stretcher, started running a bunch of tests, CT scans, MRIs, a whirlwind of things happening all at once. I felt like an object, examined and analyzed from all sides. The confusion was overwhelming, and the fear, don't even mention it. Every time a doctor approached with a serious expression, my heart would skip a beat. After hours of agonizing waiting, they finally came to give me the diagnosis. "You had a stroke," said the doctor, with a calm tone of voice that couldn't hide the seriousness of the situation. Stroke. 3 letters that changed my life forever. In that moment, everything seemed to crumble. I, so young, so active, suddenly there, diagnosed with a stroke. My initial reaction was one of denial, of course. This can't be happening, I thought. This isn't happening to me. But the images of my brain on the computer screen didn't lie. I was vulnerable, completely at the mercy of my own body, feeling like the future had become a huge question mark. I started rehabilitation right after the scare, and I can tell you, it was the toughest phase of my life. I had to relearn how to do basic things like walk, talk, even dress myself. It felt like I had turned back into a baby, fully dependent on others for everything. The frustration was immense, I confess. I felt powerless, incapable, trapped inside my own body. Depression and anxiety became my constant companions. There were days when I simply couldn't get out of bed, sadness consuming me completely. But in the midst of all that darkness, I found a light. My family and friends were incredibly important in this process. They gave me strength, encouraged me not to give up, reminded me of how loved I was. My mother, in particular, dropped everything to take care of me, taking me to physical therapy sessions, helping me with exercises, providing me with all the emotional support I needed. Without them, I don't know where I would be today. Gradually, with a lot of therapy, effort, and persistence, I began to see results. Small progressions that gave me an extra boost to keep fighting. One step further, a word pronounced clearly, a task accomplished without help. Every victory was a huge achievement, a reason to celebrate. The stroke completely changed my perspective on life. Before, I was living on autopilot, worried about work, appearances, the future. After the stroke, I learned to cherish the little things, to live in the present, to enjoy every moment as if it were the last. I discovered that health is the most precious asset we have, and without it, nothing else matters. I started to take better care of myself, to pay attention to the signals my body gave me, to eat healthily, to exercise regularly. Moreover, I became an advocate for stroke prevention and awareness. I participate in campaigns, share my story, try to warn people about risk factors and the importance of seeking medical help quickly. And above all, I learned a valuable lesson. Illness does not choose social class, race, or bank account. A millionaire would face exactly the same limitations I faced during my recovery. Human vulnerability is universal. The stroke showed me that we are all equal in the face of life's fragility, and that the only thing that really matters is love, family, and our health. So, take care of yourself, love yourself, and value every moment. Hi, folks. My name is Carmen. Well, my name doesn't matter much. What matters is that I was a person just like anyone else. I worked, went out with friends, had my dreams and plans for the future. I lived life on autopilot, without paying much attention to the signs my body was giving me. I thought I was strong, invincible, that nothing bad could happen to me. I was wrong. Life threw me a curveball, a sudden twist that changed everything. Today, I decided to share my story with you all. It's not easy, I confess. Reliving certain moments is painful, but I feel like I need to do it. I need to warn other people, inform them about something that can happen to anyone, at any moment. I want my experience to be a lesson, so that no one makes the same mistakes I did. I ignored the signs, neglected my health, thought everything was fine when, in fact, it wasn't. I regret this very much, of course. If I could go back, I would do everything differently. But the past cannot be changed. What I can do now is use my story to raise awareness, to show the importance of listening to one's own body, seeking medical help, not being afraid to admit that something is wrong. I know I'm not perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I'm here with an open heart to share my vulnerability with you. I hope that, by listening to me, you feel touched, inspired to take better care of yourselves and those you love. I want to turn my pain into hope, my experience into a prevention tool. It's all I desire most. At first, it was just a passing discomfort, a twinge here, a tingling there. Nothing that stopped me from carrying on with my routine. I justified everything with work stress, sleepless nights, poor posture in front of the computer. It's just tiredness, I told myself while having another cup of coffee to get through the day. I thought that with good rest, everything would go back to normal. But over time, the symptoms intensified. The pain in my left arm became constant. The tingling spread to my hand, and sometimes I even felt an inexplicable weakness. Still, I continued to ignore the signs. I thought it was just a phase, that it would pass soon. I started self-medicating, seeking quick and palliative solutions at the pharmacy. I took painkillers to relieve the pain, muscle relaxants to ease the tension, vitamins to replenish energy. It worked for a while, but the symptoms always came back stronger. I was just masking the problem, postponing the inevitable. The busy routine consumed me. I barely had time to breathe, let alone go to the doctor. Work, home, social commitments, everything prevented me from prioritizing my health. I thought it was more important to fulfill my obligations than to take care of myself. What a big mistake. I remember a particular day when the pain in my arm was unbearable. I tried to work, but I couldn't concentrate. The twinges were so strong that they made me lose my breath. I took a stronger painkiller, but it didn't work. I decided to look for a cream to massage the area. I applied a generous layer and waited for the pain to go away. It worked for a few minutes, but it soon came back even stronger. Desperate, I called a friend for help. She advised me to see a doctor immediately, but I, stubborn as always, ignored the advice. I preferred to go home, lie down, and wait for the pain to pass on its own. The next day, I woke up even worse. The pain had spread to my shoulder and neck, and I could barely move. I tried to get out of bed, but I felt such a strong dizziness that I had to hold on to something to avoid falling. I began to feel a growing fear, a sense that something very wrong was happening. I called work, saying I couldn't go. I then decided it was time to see a doctor, but it was already too late. The stroke had already happened, and the consequences would be devastating. If I had sought help earlier, maybe the story would be different, but negligence cost me dearly. The escalation of symptoms was like a treacherous wave that dragged me to the bottom of the sea. At first, it was just a few drops, some light sprays, but soon it turned into a tsunami. The pains intensified in a way I had never experienced before. It was no longer just a passing discomfort. It was a constant torture that accompanied me day and night. The pain in my left arm spread to the shoulder, to the neck, to the back, as if a fire was burning inside. Work became an unbearable burden. It was difficult to concentrate, to type, even to sit for long periods. I needed constant breaks to stretch, to relieve the pain, but nothing seemed to work. Meetings were a nightmare. I felt exhausted, irritated, unable to contribute. I started to miss work more often, making excuses to my colleagues. I was ashamed to admit I was sick, afraid of losing my job. My relationships were also affected. It was difficult to go out with friends, go to the movies, have dinner out. The pain made me moody, impatient, lacking energy to socialize. I started to isolate myself, to distance myself from the people I loved. I was afraid of being a burden to them, of them seeing me as an invalid. Leisure activities that once brought me joy became impossible. I could no longer play sports, dance, travel. My body simply did not respond. I felt trapped in a cage, powerless in the face of my own fragility. The physical limitations I began to face were a harsh blow to my self-esteem. I struggled to walk, needed to lean on walls to avoid falling. Sleep was torment. I couldn't find a comfortable position. Performing simple tasks, like bathing, getting dressed, cooking, became a challenge. I needed help from others for everything. I felt infantilized, dependent. Moments of frustration and despair were constant. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself. Who was that fragile, haggard woman with a lost gaze? Where was the strong, independent, vibrant person I used to be? I tried to hide the situation from those around me, afraid of worrying them or being judged. I wore loose clothes to disguise my thinness, makeup to hide the dark circles, forced smiles to show that everything was fine. But it was a facade. Inside, I was falling apart. I felt alone, misunderstood, desperate. With each passing day, hope dwindled, fear increased. I was certain that my body was failing, that my life was coming to an end, but I couldn't give up. I needed to fight for myself, for my family, for my friends. I needed to find a way to overcome this trial and be happy again. The journey would be long and difficult, but I was determined to win. The day I finally decided to seek medical help was one of the hardest of my life. The pain was excruciating, constant, relentless. I could no longer hide my suffering. The pale face, deep circles under my eyes, lack of energy, everything revealed that something was terribly wrong. My mother, with teary eyes, begged me to go to the hospital. "Daughter, you need to take care of yourself. You can't keep living like this. I'm very worried," she said, her voice choked up. I yielded to her insistence, not for myself, but for her. I didn't want to see her suffer anymore. I arrived at the hospital trembling, terrified. The waiting room was crowded, people coughing, crying, groaning in pain. I felt a tightness in my chest, a premonition that something bad was about to happen. After hours of agonizing wait, I was finally called in for the consultation. The doctor, a gray-haired man with a kind gaze, examined me carefully. He asked several questions about my symptoms, my family history, my lifestyle habits. I felt invaded, exposed, vulnerable. He ordered a battery of tests: blood work, urine analysis, X-ray, CT scan, MRI. Time seemed to stand still as I waited for the results. With each test, anxiety grew, fear intensified. I imagined the worst scenarios, the most terrible diseases. I had recurring nightmares, woke up in the middle of the night screaming, sweating profusely. The wait for the results was a psychological torture. Finally, the day of the diagnosis arrived. I was called into the doctor's office, my heart pounding in my chest. He looked me in the eyes and said in a calm and serene tone, "You have had a stroke, a cerebrovascular accident." Those words echoed in my mind like thunder. A stroke. Me? How could this be? It couldn't be true. I was young, healthy, active. It made no sense. I felt the world crumble around me. My legs go weak, my vision blur. The shock was so great that I had to hold onto the chair to keep from falling. I started crying uncontrollably, tears streaming down my face. Fear completely consumed me, a paralyzing, overwhelming fear. What would become of me? What would my life be like from now on? Would I have lingering effects? Would I become disabled? Would I need help for everything? Thousands of questions flooded my mind, without me being able to find answers. The uncertainty about the future was terrifying. I felt lost, helpless, alone. I needed help, support, someone to give me a hug and tell me everything would be okay. But at that moment, all I could feel was emptiness, pain, despair. The stroke diagnosis changed my life forever. Right after the diagnosis, the treatment started at full speed. It was a whirlwind of exams, consultations, hospitalizations, and, of course, medications. I remember the first time I took the medicines. The hope was great, but the side effects, wow, terrible nausea, dizziness that kept me from getting out of bed, a fatigue that seemed to drain all my energy. They were tough days of adaptation and a lot of patience. The hospitalizations were frequent. Every time a new symptom arose, there I went to the hospital. The hospital routine was exhausting. Injections, IV fluids, exams, little sleep, and lots of worry. There came a moment when I couldn't stand to see the white walls of the room anymore, smell the alcohol, and hear the alarms of the machines. I needed my home, my space, my family. The surgeries were inevitable. One to unblock an artery, another to place a stent. The fear was constant. Every time I went to the operating room, I said goodbye to my family as if it were the last time. The recovery was slow and painful. With each stitch removed, with each bandage changed, I felt the physical pain and the pain of the soul. The changes in my body were the ones that affected me the most. The hair loss, because of the medications, left me devastated. I felt ugly, without femininity. The extreme fatigue prevented me from doing simple things, like walking or taking a shower alone. The limitations imposed by the disease made me feel irritated, frustrated, and often depressed. There were moments of pure discouragement. I wanted to give up, throw everything away, and disappear. The pain was so much that I saw no way out. But in those moments, my family and my friends were my anchor. They gave me strength, love, and the hope that I had lost. My mother was tireless, taking care of me as if I were a baby. My father, always silent, conveyed security with a simple hug. My friends visited me, made me laugh, and reminded me that I was not alone. The medical team was also instrumental in my recovery. The doctors, nurses, and physiotherapists treated me with professionalism and compassion. They explained everything about the illness to me, gave me important guidance, and encouraged me not to give up. I am grateful to each of them for their care and dedication. I still have a long way to go, but I have learned to appreciate every small progress. With each passing day, I feel stronger, more confident, and more grateful for life. I know I can't control everything, but I can choose how to react to challenges. Faith, love, and hope are my fuels. With them, I know I can overcome any obstacle. Life has taught me that happiness lies in the small things, in simple moments, and in the company of loved ones. And that is what drives me to move forward. Many times, people confuse terminal illness with palliative care, and it is important to clarify this difference. Being in a terminal state means that the person is in an advanced stage of an incurable disease with little chance of recovery, and that death is expected within a relatively short period. Palliative care, on the other hand, is an approach aimed at improving the quality of life of patients and their families who are facing problems associated with serious illnesses, whether curable or incurable. In other words, you can be in palliative care even without being in a terminal state. Palliative care is not the end of the line, quite the opposite. It represents a shift in focus, from attempting to cure to relieving suffering and promoting well-being. The main goal is to provide comfort, dignity, and quality of life to the patient, helping them live as well as possible for as long as they have. This involves controlling pain and other physical symptoms, such as nausea, shortness of breath, and fatigue, but it goes far beyond that. Palliative care also addresses the mental and emotional health of the patient and their families. It provides psychological, social, and spiritual support, helping them deal with fear, anxiety, sadness, and other feelings that may arise in the face of a serious illness. It also assists in communication between the patient, the family, and the medical team, facilitating decision-making and care planning. In my journey after the stroke, palliative care was essential in helping me deal with the physical and emotional challenges. The pain was constant, and the medications didn't always fully relieve it. That's when I started exploring alternative therapies like meditation, yoga, and acupuncture. I must admit that at first I was a bit skeptical, but over time, I realized that these practices helped me relax, reduce stress, and manage pain naturally. Meditation taught me to calm my mind, focus on the present, and accept my limitations. Yoga helped me strengthen my body, improve flexibility, and relieve muscle tension. And acupuncture provided pain relief and improved sleep. All these therapies, combined with conventional medical care, made a significant difference in my quality of life. I learned that taking care of myself goes beyond taking medicine and doing physical therapy. It also involves taking care of my mind, body, and spirit. It's about seeking balance, inner peace, and joy in living, even in the face of challenges. Palliative care showed me that it's possible to have a full and meaningful life, even with a serious illness. It's about changing perspective, focusing on what matters, and seeking support from people who care about us. And of course, not being afraid to explore complementary therapies that can help alleviate suffering and improve our well-being. After all, the goal is to live the best way we can for as long as we have. And just when I thought I was finally finding a new normal, life threw me another curveball. One day, during a routine exam, doctors noticed something suspicious. A spot, small but shouldn't be there. Fear, that old acquaintance, haunted me once again. The days that followed were filled with pure anguish, with test after test, the agonizing wait for results. With each phone call, my heart raced, my breath shortened. And then the news arrived. The disease had reappeared, recurrence. The word echoed in my mind like thunder, shattering the fragile peace I had built. It felt like everything was starting from scratch again, like all my efforts, all my struggles, had been in vain. The frustration was immense. The anger consumed me. Why again? Why me? I asked amidst tears. This time the symptoms were different, more subtle, but no less alarming. An extreme fatigue that wouldn't go away, persistent headaches, a dry cough that left me breathless. The test confirmed what I already feared. The disease had spread, metastasis. The diagnosis was an even bigger shock than the first. Reality, once distant, was now approaching at a frightening speed. The fear of death, previously dormant, awoke with all its strength. I had to face the new reality, however painful it was, accepting that life is not a fairy tale, that things do not always happen as we expect. I had to say goodbye to some illusions, abandon some dreams, but also make room for new possibilities, for new learnings. It was not easy, I confess. There were moments of deep sadness, despair, a desire to give up, but I knew I couldn't give in. I had to fight, not for a cure, but for life. I decided to focus on the present, on each day, on each moment, learning to appreciate the little things, to enjoy the beauty of nature, the company of the people I love. I began to engage in activities that bring me pleasure, like reading, listening to music, painting. I started writing again, expressing my feelings, my anxieties, my hopes. I sought psychological support to help me deal with fear, anxiety, and depression. Therapy has given me important tools to face the challenges of the illness, to give new meaning to my story, to find a new purpose in my life. I also drew closer to faith, to spirituality. Prayer brings me peace, strengthens me, and connects me with something greater than myself. I know the journey is uncertain, the future is unpredictable, but I choose to live with gratitude, with joy, and with hope. I believe that life is a gift, and that each day is a new opportunity to love, to learn, to be happy. And with that mindset, I move forward, one day at a time, with the certainty that I am not alone. I learned that yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. That is why I call it the present. Illness has taught me to live intensely in every moment, not to postpone what I can do now. Before, I used to worry about the future, planning every detail, trying to control the uncontrollable. Today, I live one day at a time, without distressing about what might happen tomorrow. I discovered the beauty of simple things, of small gestures, of moments of tranquility. I love having breakfast on the balcony, feeling the sun on my face and listening to the birds singing. I love reading a good book on a rainy day, wrapped in a warm blanket. I love cooking for the people I love, preparing tasty and nutritious dishes. I love walking in the park, admiring nature and breathing fresh air. I learned to value relationships, express my feelings, tell people how important they are to me. Before, I had difficulty showing my affection, fear of exposing myself, apprehension of being vulnerable. Today, I hug my friends with care, tell my family how much I love them, express gratitude for every act of kindness. I learned that love is the greatest gift we can give and receive. Illness has taught me to prioritize what really matters, to set aside unnecessary worries, to focus on what brings me joy and well-being. Before, I worried about trivial things like other people's opinions, physical appearance, social status. Today, I worry about being happy, doing good, living according to my values. I learned that happiness is not in what we possess, but in the experiences we have and the people we love. Gratitude has become a daily practice. I am grateful for each day, for each smile, for each hug, for each opportunity to learn and evolve. I am grateful for my family, for my friends, for the healthcare professionals taking care of me. I am grateful for life, even with all its difficulties and challenges. I learned that gratitude transforms our perspective, helps us see the bright side of things, and appreciate appreciate what really matters. Faith has also been an important pillar in my journey. I believe that there is something greater that guides and protects us, that gives us strength to overcome obstacles and move forward. Prayer brings me peace, connects me with the divine, and helps me trust in the future. Faith has taught me to accept what I cannot change, to have hope in what I can transform, and to have the wisdom to distinguish between the two. Illness has transformed me into a better person, stronger, wiser, and more grateful. I have learned to live in the present, to value relationships, to prioritize what truly matters, to practice gratitude, and to trust in faith. I have discovered that life is a precious gift, and that each day is a new opportunity to love, to learn, to be happy. And it is with this mindset that I move forward, one day at a time, with the certainty that I am not alone. Life and death, themes that once scared me, that I preferred to avoid, are now my constant companions for reflection. Illness brought me closer to finitude, made me face the fragility of existence. Before, I deluded myself with the idea that I would live forever, that I would have time to do everything I wanted. Today, I know that time is short, that life is fleeting, and that we must cherish every moment as if it were the last. Death no longer frightens me as it did before. I do not see it as an end, but as a transformation, a passage to a new state of consciousness. I believe the soul is eternal, that the energy that moves us does not extinguish with the death of the physical body. I believe that in some way, we will continue to exist, to love, to learn. Illness has deeply transformed me. It has made me stronger, more resilient, more compassionate. Pain has taught me to value joy. Overcoming has taught me to believe in myself. Fragility has taught me to love unconditionally. Before, I was a selfish person, concerned only with my own interests. Today, I care about the well-being of others. I empathize with the suffering of others. I feel part of a great chain of love and compassion. I want to leave a legacy of hope, inspiration, love. I want people to remember me as someone who fought for life, who never gave up on their dreams, who loved intensely, and who made a difference in the world. I want to inspire others to take care of their health, to value their body, mind, and spirit. I want to encourage them to live fully, to enjoy every moment, to seek happiness in the simple things of life. For those facing similar challenges, who are fighting against illness, who are suffering with pain and uncertainty, I want to leave a message of hope and encouragement. Don't give up. Believe in yourselves, trust in your inner strength, seek support from family, friends, healthcare professionals. Don't isolate yourselves, share your feelings, express your emotions. Allow yourselves to feel the pain, but don't let it drown you. Seek activities that bring you pleasure, that bring you joy, that allow you to relax and recharge your energies. Practice physical exercises. Nourish yourselves in a healthy way. Take care of sleep. Meditate. Pray. Read. Listen to music. Dance. Sing. Laugh. Find your way to express creativity, to connect with nature, to feel alive and fulfilled. Remember that you are not alone. There are many people who care about you, who want to help you, who are rooting for your recovery. Allow yourselves to receive the love and support that are offered to you. Believe in healing, improvement, overcoming. Believe in the power of the mind, in the body's ability to heal, and in the magic of love. And above all, believe in God. Trust in His wisdom, in His protection, in His infinite mercy. Know that He is always by your side, guiding you, comforting you, and strengthening you. Believe that everything happens for a reason, that even the greatest difficulties can bring great learnings and transformations. Life is a precious gift, and each day is a new opportunity to love, to learn, to be happy. Live intensely, with gratitude, with joy, and with hope. And never forget, you are strong, you are capable, you are loved. If there is a lesson I carry with me, it is the vital importance of listening to the whisper of our own body. It speaks, it warns, it begs for attention. Do not ignore the signs, however small they may seem. That persistent ache, the inexplicable fatigue, the sudden change in mood, everything can be an alert. Do not be afraid to seek medical help. A simple exam can make all the difference between a life of limitations and the chance for a healthy and full future. Prevention is, without a doubt, our greatest ally. I learned the hard way that early diagnosis is an invaluable gift. If I had listened to the initial signs, if I had not neglected my health, perhaps my story would be different. Do not blame yourself for past mistakes, but learn from them. Use my experience as a constant reminder. Take care of yourself, love yourself, and prioritize your health. If illness crosses your path, face it with courage, faith, and hope. Do not be discouraged by fear, sadness, or uncertainty. Seek strength in your faith, in the love of your family, and in the support of your friends. Believe in your ability to overcome, trust in your resilience, and never, ever lose hope. Believe that life is stronger than illness, that healing is possible, and that happiness is your right. I thank everyone who has taken the time to follow my journey. May my story inspire you to value life, to cherish each moment, to love unconditionally, and to never give up on your dreams. Life is a precious gift, and each day is a new opportunity to be happy. Believe in the power of life, in the power of love, and in the beauty of hope. And always remember, you are not alone.